So to start with, we have to know what is MSBI. Okay, yeah, that's the question everybody has, once they start or make decision to learn MSBI. So before knowing MSBI, we should know BI. What is business intelligence? Okay, so business intelligence, if it has to be put in a simple form, it is all about transformation of data. Imagine an organization. An organization will have data in multiple forms. Data being collected in multiple locations in multiple forms. So to make that data useful for the same organization, for its own benefit, we have business intelligence in place. So business intelligence is a technology which will address every problem and deal with every technique to organize your data, organize your industry's data, to analyze it, and to represent it so that organization can make a decision with their data, an informed decision. So like I have an KFC restaurant chain and I want to go and start with a new set of stores in a city. I have to analyze how many, what is the percentage of vegetarians and non-vegetarians. Okay, do I have any data already in hand? Yeah, so there are surveys being done, so that data is there. So if I take decision based on that, so that is called an informed decision. So if I have data to support my decision making, it becomes an informed decision. That is all about business intelligence. If I make a decision based on geography or based on the culture or based on the religion, so the model is unlikely, the decision making or the business model is unlikely scalable or competition sustainable. So now the entire industry is behind MSBI is because they have this power of making forecasts or making predictable analysis standing out of competitions. What all things we can do which are addressed by business intelligence, which are covered by business intelligence. The very first thing is, so the things which I discuss here are inclusive of all the things which are covered by BI, but there could be more which a BI does. It's again based on the industry practice, how they define BI. So in general, the sections and the departments which are being held in BI are which are put down here. Okay, so the first thing is data cleaning. Data cleaning is eliminating junk or errors from your data. So when you are collecting data in an organization in different forms, you end up having, so there will be system generated data and there will be manual data. Yeah, system generated data, because of the network failures or hardware failures, some of the times data doesn't get recorded properly. So you end up having junk data. Or if it is a manual populated data, like Excel sheets or HR information, FT, so there will be sections in an organization where data is more likely to be recorded manually. So you will be having manual errors. You can't avoid human errors. So the very first thing an organizational business intelligence practice should be doing is cleaning the data, eliminating unwanted data and considering only data which it can process further. Then there should be a model in place to hold this data, a database model, an effective and scalable which addresses every need of organization. So there should be a solid data warehouse model, a dimension model to contain all the data of an organization at one place. Yeah, at any point in time in an organization there should be one source of truth. All the data, irrespective of which form it is or where it is, it has to be brought down to a central system. Yeah, so only if you have a data in a central system which is unified across all the organization, then your business decision making will be unique. I mean, uh, you you don't end up making two decisions for the same. there is no probability of rethinking of the decision is because there is only one source of truth, so you don't end up having same result. I mean, for a same business query, two different results from two different systems. Then it will be very problematic. Imagine that a data source in your organization is saying that your annual sales is, your annual profit is $2 million, and other system aggregated data shows that your annual profit is 1.5 million. So it becomes a tricky. If you have a unified source where all the data is collaborated in a single data model, then your decision making will be unique and accurate. So that's why we will have a dimensional model data warehouse in a place. This data warehouse can also be called as operational data store or data mart. The whole idea is to have only one system. Yeah. So if we have to have one system in place, then the data need to be transformed, need to be extracted from various sources. So in the same KFC chain, if we take data at a different branches can be recorded in different forms. If you have a KFC outlet in a remote village, in a remote area, so you might be not having a solid IT infrastructure, so the day in day out transactions might be recorded in Excel files or flat files. If you have a setup in a metropolitan, then you might be having a good infrastructure, IT infrastructure. You might be recording the data in an RDBMS like Oracle or SQL Server. Data gets stored in a database. And for the same KFC chain at the headquarters, you might be having data in an ERP, yeah, like SAP or PeopleSoft. So irrespective of where you have data, if you have a data model in place, then all the data in different forms at different locations should be brought into the data model. For that, we do data transformation. That's also called as extract, transform, and load. We take data from all different points and get it to the central source. So this is the actual key in a business intelligence. 80% of the problems arises here. 80% of the business intelligence problems arises here. You will have multiple challenges while reading data from different locations, maybe because of the different formats, because of the different technologies being used for storing data. And while you are gathering data into a central system, you will be applying some business rules also on the data. So to make it more meaningful. Now, once you have data in the central repository, all the data transformation is done, then comes a phase of business intelligence. That is data representation. So you have to showcase the data you have in your central system, right? So as form of dashboards or reports or analytics or visualizations or not. So at the convenience of the end user here will be a business manager or a CEO or CFO, any guy in an organization who is responsible for making a business decision should be able to view the data. So we have representation layer next to transformation. Once the representation layer is passed, then there comes the advanced concepts of business intelligence. Advanced concepts. So most of the business practices across the industries stops by data representation, starting with data cleaning, data modeling, data transformation, and data representation. Once we have data which is in a representable format and which is represented to decision-making users, the business practice ends there for most of the organizations. For the organizations which deal with huge data, which deal with lots of data, or which are into data analysis, like clinical research companies where they will deal with lot of data, survey organizations. Yes, there will be organizations which are completely into data. So, or a company which has huge amount of data like Facebook or Google. So they go further and do data analysis. So this is the next level of business intelligence. So here we deal with cubes, data cubes, or data mining, statistical languages. All of that stuff comes in this layer. Now let's see in an organization what is the positioning of each of the topic which is discussed here, and what is the transition between each of this step and scope. Okay, now you might be wondering, the course is about MSBI and why the hell I'm learning about only business intelligence. Okay, so business intelligence is a technology, whereas MSBI is a tool. Okay, so using tool MSBI, we do business intelligence. So understanding business intelligence is more important before we actually begin with MSBI. Okay, so we are in a phase of only understanding business intelligence in an organization. Okay.
Yes. Now I have a quick question on the previous slide. So MSBI mostly deals with the data representation and data analysis.
Data representation, data analysis is a phase of MSBI, business intelligence. Before that, we deal with processing data. Processing data is like gathering data, doing transformations, necessary transformations, applying business logics, and storing data. Once that phase is done, then we get into phase 2, which is said now, representing and analysis.
Okay.
Okay. In an organization, how is this BI plays a important role? Let's see that. Okay, so in any any business, take any business, retail business or pharma business or any business you take, data which is being recorded at the end points of your business may not be always in the same technology. So you might be having data coming from web services, like you have an e-commerce website. So your data might be coming from websites, data from the warehouse, from where goods are delivered, coming from Excel files, delivery information, dispatch or return goods, all that information. Yeah, and some of the data at the point of sale will be coming in a flat files or Excel flat files or system generated files without application, which is a neutral technology. Or you might be having data in a RDBMS, which is Oracle or SQL Server or MySQL, where you store data in tables. Or it's in huge organization, you may likely having data in a ERP system too. So you can't say, you can't restrict the data storage in a data recording collection in an organization to a particular technology. But at the end of the day, you have to deal with all these technologies and have data in only one system. You can't do data representation from each of these systems. Then you will get into that problem which I discussed earlier. So there shouldn't be more than one system giving different results for the same question. There should be always one system giving only one answer for this one question. Okay, so if I have to achieve that, if I have to go achieve that goal, then I have to have all this data in one system. So that's where ETL, extract transform load, will come into picture. So this is a process of MSBI, business intelligence, extract transform load. This is a phase where we do data cleaning. We clean all the errors and junk data out of these data sources. We address all the technical aspects of these data points, assess the data, read the data, and get it into a staging area. Staging area is more likely an RDBMS, Relational Database Management System. Can be Teradata, can be DB2, can be SQL Server, can be Oracle. So we will have a staging database. This is how when business intelligence is practiced in an organization. So all the data across the different data points will be read and stored into a single system. So this system will be more likely in the headquarters of an organization or at the data center. There won't be much of the business rules applied here at this phase. Here the majority of the emphasis will be only in extracting data and loading data, gathering data. Then once we have data in the staging database, lump of data in the staging database, then we do again ETL, again extract, transform and load, but here the emphasis will be more on transformation. Here we will apply business rules, like applying currency conversions. If I want to represent all of my data in USD, maybe I have stores in Europe, Singapore and Asian countries. So I'll be having data in local currencies, but at my central system I should have data only in USD. So I do a transformation, business logic, applying cross conversion rates. Then I have set some targets, and I have to store. I have to compare whether the targets are met and mark accordingly the data. So I will do a transformation. Business rules can be anything. Business rules sometimes can be as simple as clubbing two columns of data, or splitting up the data, or as complex as generating files. So we will be doing as complex transformations as generating settlement files which are sent to the bank, sensitive data, encryption, decryption, decode, all that. So the extract, transform, load process is split into two phases. The phase one involves only in understanding the data, gathering and loading the data, and phase two involves with mostly business rules. Once all the rules are applied and transformation happens on the staging data, that data is taken into a data mart. Okay, so the data after applying valid transformations is brought into a data model, a dimension model. This is where the phase one of business intelligence completes. So it pretty much addresses different data points, understanding them, getting data from them, and applying necessary transformations and loading it into a data model. Now after having the data in a central repository, which will become my single source of truth. Once I have data here, then the representation of data comes into picture. So this data should be represented to the end users so that they can take business decisions. So for that, I will be building visualizations, reports or dashboards. Or I'll go further with the advanced things like building a cube and from there representing the data. So the advantage of having cube in a business intelligence workflow in a frame is when you are dealing with huge amount of data and you want to do multiple querying of data on huge amount of stored data, having a cube in place is very effective. I will give you a use case scenario. So if you want, assume that you have sales across 54 countries. Assume that you have sales across 54 countries and the data stored in your data warehouse is for 10 years. And you have you are selling data, you are selling a product stack of say 1,000 products. So you are running one retail store. You are selling across more than 1,000 products across 54 locations, and you have data recorded for 10 years. Now you want to analyze all of this data within seconds. Like you want to see in 2006 in UK region, what are the sales for top 10 products. Such kind of queries, such kind of business questions will take a lot of time if you are using a standard SQL and querying from the data warehouse. Data warehouse sits on an RDBMS, maybe a Teradata or an SQL Server or an Oracle. So data warehouse mostly will only sit on RDBMS. And to get data from RDBMS, the only way is SQL language. Using SQL language, you will get data out of RDBMS. If you have to answer such questions, which involves lot of SQL processing, then querying it directly from data warehouse is not the ideal scenario, ideal solution. So for that, we will have cubes in place. Cubes read the entire data from your data warehouse, do pre-calculations, store data in an cube format. So from there, the question which I have asked earlier, answering such questions is very easy. You take any year, take any region, take any set of products, get the sales or profits or expenses or production costs or fleet charges. It's just a matter of seconds. You can get data into analytics. So we'll have that in place. So this is pretty much the BI practice in an organization. Involves completely in data transformation from different sources to data warehouse, from there to data cube, from there to analytics. So in most of the business practices, business intelligence may not end at analytics or dashboards. May go further. People may do data science concepts on data they have in their organization, like statistical analysis or data mining, predictive analysis. So those are the advanced concepts where we'll have data scientists or mathematicians in place and do advanced things. But in any given organization, for an IT professional, the BA scope is what is discussed here. So as part of this workflow, there will be different BI roles as a BI developer which will be performed, like business intelligence, BI architect, a BI developer, BI tester. So BI architect will be mostly involved in articulating the transformation rules. What are the transformation rules that need to be applied from the data which is collected? BI architect will be also responsible for designing data warehouse data model or cube model, and pretty much writing the technical aspects of the business intelligence process. Then there will be BI developer. BI developer will understand the different data points in an organization, different data points which are also called entry points. What are the relevant drivers or technologies that need to be used for reading data, building ETL, extract, transform, load, getting data into storage, data staging database, and from there to data warehouse. So this is where a BI developer will work on. And once we have data, then BI developer will also work on creating dashboards or analytics or building cubes. At this point, business users also involved. Who business users or functional users will be involved, which are more likely having a background of business background, and will be giving the scenarios on which we have to populate data or represent data to the end user. Will be giving us use cases. Okay, so yeah, this is a business intelligence process in any organization. Now we will see what is MSBI. So MSBI covers all the things which are involved in a business intelligence workflow. So all the things which are discussed in the previous slide in an organization, the events which happens as part of business intelligence can be developed using MSBI, Microsoft Business Intelligence. The competitors of Microsoft Business Intelligence are OBI, Oracle Business Intelligence, or Pentaho. So when we actually talk about the competitors of Microsoft Business Intelligence, we also have to understand the scope of a business intelligence tool. So there will be tools which will be doing specific job in this business process, in this business intelligence process. Like there will be tools which will be used only for building cubes. Only for building cubes. There are tools only for building visualizations or dashboards like Cognos, Tableau, MicroStrategy. So there are tools which are only specific for building visualizations. There are tools only specific for getting data from these data points and loading them into a data warehouse like Informatica, yeah, or Data Stage from IBM. So there are specific tools which are doing specific jobs. And there are tools like MSBI which covers all of this, which does this ETL, which does cube building, which does report building, all three. Likewise, there is Pentaho. Pentaho also does all of this. There is OBI, Oracle Business Intelligence. Yeah, fine. So let's see what a Microsoft Business Intelligence consists of. Microsoft Business Intelligence consists of three technologies. There are three technologies which combinedly are addressed as MSBI. Okay, so MSBI is further classified into three technologies. The first technology is SSIS, SQL Server Integration Services. This is a tool which is used for doing extraction, transform and load, extracting and transforming and loading data. And then there is SSRS, SQL Server Reporting Services, which is used for building reports or dashboards or analytics. And then the third tool, the third component of MSBI is AS, SQL Server Analysis Services. This is an advanced part of MSBI, which is used for building cubes or doing data mining. So MSBI is nothing but is a stack of these three tools. So in the diagram which is discussed before, showing an organizational BI process, what is the scope of each of the MSBI tool in that workflow? What is the scope? What is the starting point and what is the end point of each of the tool in that workflow is represented here in this slide. So if you see, SSIS is pretty much deals with gathering data and storing data and applying transformations in the process. So that's the scope of SSIS. And if you see SSAS scope is limited to building cubes. So data from the data warehouse is taken and cubes are built. Then comes the SSRS. So SSRS scope is building visualizations. Building visualizations either from the data warehouse or from the cube. So this is a scope of MSBI, complete MSBI in an organizational business intelligence workflow. Okay. I think now business intelligence, MSBI is understood better. This is the scope of MSBI in a business intelligence workflow. So now, apart from this, SSIS, SSRS, SSAS, the stack of MSBI, what are the dependencies, or what are the other technologies that MSBI comes along with? MSBI is a free tool. Which comes with SQL Server, which is not free, which is paid. So SQL Server, which is an RDBMS, this can be a standalone RDBMS pack at the time of purchase. I mean, while you're installing, can be installed as a standalone RDBMS pack to store only data, or you can install MSBI Futures, which comes free along with SQL Server. So the dependency is set in this way. So if you have to use MSBI, you have to have SQL Server in place. Without having SQL Server, we can't use MSBI. Okay. So is MSBI works only with SQL Server? No. So you have to have SQL Server in place to use MSBI. But once you have MSBI, you can talk to any other RDBMS. MSBI can use data from any other RDBMS. Okay. So what is the framework that SQL Server or MSBI is built on? So .NET framework is a framework which is essential for having SQL Server or MSBI. Is MSBI compulsory to use SQL Server? No. SQL Server can be independent of MSBI. But is MSBI independent of SQL Server? No. SQL Server needs, MSBI needs SQL Server for SSIS or SSRS, SSAS. Now I will tell you the dependency. So when we are dealing with IS, RS or AS, there will be two types of data. One is the organization data, which organization has recorded in different forms, and then the data which is represented to the organization. And the secondary is technical data, metadata, data of data, which is used by SQL Server or MSBI tools to process that organization data. So to store that system data, we need SQL Server. So all that system data, if you are using SSIS, extraction, transformation, loading, integration services, so you will be having driver information, connections information, location information, all that will be stored in SQL Server. If reports are built, the definition of the reports. If cubes are built, the definition of cubes. So to store the technical information, SQL Server is used. So now saying that .NET framework is a framework which is used for MSB or SQL Server, we are setting a dependency here. .NET framework works only on Microsoft OS, maybe server OS or desktop OS. So when we are dealing with MSB or SQL Server, we will be mostly using server OS operating system. So MSBI works on only Windows operating systems because .NET framework is required. But not to worry with Linux or Mac systems, because there is Mono.NET framework, which is just identical to .NET framework, which works on Linux or any other system. So if we have Mono.NET and framework on Linux systems, then we can run MSBI on Linux systems also. SQL Server can be installed and MSBI can be run on that. Okay, so that's with licensing of MSBI, the importance of SQL Server with MSBI. And the scope, it doesn't mean that SQL Server is only technology RDBMS which is supported by MSBI. No, not like that. So to use MSBI, we need to have SQL Server, but once we have MSBI in place, it can coordinate with any other database which is used in an organization. Okay, so now along with MSBI, along with these three tools, what is the other tool that we get? There is another, this is with licensing of MSBI. Bits or data tools, business intelligence development studio or data tools. So this is a stack, this is a tool that comes along with MSBI, which is used for developing solutions for integration services or reporting services or analysis services. This is an IT industry terminology called IDE, Integrated Development Environment. Imagine this is this like Visual Studio for .NET developers, or Eclipse or WebSphere for Java developers. So for developing the solutions of integration services or reporting services or analysis services along with MSBI, BITS is included. Business Intelligence Development Studio is included. If we don't install MSBI, then this is not required. So this is UI of so the actually so though it is called as BITS Business Intelligence Development Studio or Data Tools, or in 2014 the naming has changed, this is powered by Visual Studio. This is powered by Visual Studio. So this is part of Visual Studio, it comes along with. So if we install Visual Studio along with data tools, along with Team Foundation server, this is the UI that you get. So the pane here you see is Team Foundation Server Explorer, Source Control Explorer. So to begin with MSBI Business Intelligence Development Studio, so you have to first decide on what is the solution you're going to be building, whether analysis services or integration services or reporting services. Say reporting services. Then you will be taken to the development environment of that tool, where you will have all the tools which will help in developing reporting services. Okay. So this is UI of Business Intelligence Development Studio, or simply data tools, which is our development platform for developing integration services or reporting services or analysis services. So that's also part of MSBI. So yeah, so MSBI mainly consists of 3 technologies and then an IDE to develop these 3 technologies, to develop solutions with these 3 technologies. And this is a scope of each of the technology in a business intelligence organization. So I'll go to the slide 1 where I discussed what is business intelligence. Okay, so in the business intelligence I have given the areas which business intelligence includes. So these areas, all of the areas which are discussed here are addressed by MSBI. Microsoft Business Intelligence addresses all of these areas. So there are tools in industry which are specific to certain areas. If you take Informatica, Informatica is, the scope of Informatica is only till data transformation, data cleaning, data modeling, data transformation. There are tools like Tableau, ClickView, Cognos, MicroStrategy, Spotfire. All the tools scope is only data representation. Okay, so MSBI beats the competition with the other tools by addressing all of these areas. Okay, so with this I will end the introduction session for MSBI. Okay, let's see the history, the evolution of MSBI. So to be on competition, to be on market, any tool for a long time, the basic rule that it has to follow is to keep updating itself. Keep updating itself and keep releases on regular intervals. Releases consisting of new features or correcting existing features, expanding the scope, whatever it may be. It has to keep on releasing versions into the market so that it can stay in competition. MSBI is exactly doing that. That's why it is still in competition. So MSBI initially started as DTS. Data transformation services. The only thing it used to do is ETL, extract transformation load, just like Informatica. So this used to come along with SQL Server as a free component, and industry was rigorously using this. This was launched in 2000, I guess, in the year 2000. After that, in a span of 5 years, MSBI was released. So this, in MSBI, Microsoft came up with 3 important tools. SSIS, which is formerly DTS. They have packed entire DTS and rebranded it as SSIS with reporting stack and also with analysis stack. This has laid a solid foundation for MSBI. This revolutionized the BI industry also. So this gave a lot of power to MSBI and the developers. So after that, MSBI keep updating itself with the same stack and adding new features, new set of transformation, new set of reporting tools, new set of features to Cube services, and then keep evolving. In 2008 it released one version, in 2012 it released another, in 2014 another version. So it's keep releasing the versions in regular intervals and staying in market. Yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much how MSBI has evolved from DTS, from being just ETL to know what MSBI is. So, but industry is moving beyond this phase. Industry is going to beyond business intelligence, like big data, statistical R, all that. Yeah, but this is a foundation. Any organization first should have a business intelligence workflow. Only then they can go with the next thing. So this is very important. So no matter what kind of organization you are in, data storage is compulsory. Without data storage, you can't have any organization, any sort of data. Even you're doing a minute business operations, still you need to record data. Wherever you have data, there will be surely business intelligence workflow. That's it. Yeah. Thank you.